Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Andrew with Fact HVAC here for another episode of In Good Company. Steve, what is this, like episode 10?
We're getting there.
Yeah,
we're getting
right?
close. Yeah, for sure.
Double digits.
Right, double digits. It's crazy. It seems like it's moving fast now. But yeah, here for another episode, we have one of our really good friends, Jose, with Finding Arizona podcast, but does everything in the world of podcasting and supporting and promoting local businesses. So awesome to have you on, man.
Thank you, man. I'm so excited. Again, we talked about this off air, but it's like, again, there's so much going on, and I'm so excited to just get our names out there a little bit more and just share a couple of the stories that we've kind of gained throughout the years.
Yeah, it's crazy. Some background. My brother and I actually did your podcast years ago, 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
When it was just in the apartment.
Oh yeah. You got a good glimpse into the early stages there.
And so, and then you and I got together, I think 2 years ago before, but kind of take us through the evolution, man. How did you come up with the Finding Arizona podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. One of those things of like, it just kind of snowballed effect, and it was really one of those things. I started out 7 years ago, and it was one of those chances of a lifetime where I was just like doing screen printing right out of college and just meeting all these business owners one by one and just kind of having these conversations with them. What I was doing is actually I was part of a community screen printing, and basically you would teach and then also kind of get the information from the business owner while they're like side by side with you doing their shirts. And so you just kind of like this, you're having a conversation, going back and forth. And to me, every single one of them had some kind of like cool story, had some kind of like cool tidbit, or just, something that made me laugh.
Right.
And during that time, I was just thinking to myself, and also listening to other podcasters just telling the good word and the good gospel of like, just go do it. Just go and out there. Don't wait for anyone to help you out. You just got to take life by the balls almost,
right.
and actually just do something. And so from there, I picked up a couple of microphones. I had a laptop from college, and then I just interviewed my first person, and it was the funnest thing I've ever done in my life. It literally brought me so much joy to press record, and having the story, recorded down, and then after going in and talking with him and saying, "Hey, what did you think about that?" And he came back and he was like, "Dude, that was the funnest and like most interesting conversation I've ever had." And it kept repeating. Like, you do it a couple of times,
right,
and you kind of hear people say, "Yeah, that was fun. Like, yeah, man, I had a good time." And like, that's something I can't wait to have it out or whatever. And so from there, it just was like, okay, well, now I have something. And from that point on, it just has built and built and built and built. And I have now been so blessed for the last 7 years to have 300 episodes, and just really, it's affected not only my life, my marriage, my family. Before I started this, I didn't have a son. Now I have a son.
Right.
He's my little, like, everything that I do now is like a legacy piece for him and for the family. And ironically, too, it's like a connection piece, not only for the people who come on and share their stories, but for my family. My family gets to connect with us who are from out of state and out of town. They get to like listen, not only hear this great
right.
stories about other individuals, but catch up with me and my family, and like, they hear stories from what's going on throughout the week.
That's cool.
So it's really great.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a really interesting perspective, that window in that other people now get, that are even still within your ecosphere. Like, again, it's been a couple of years since we've sat down one-on-one, but I know what's kind of going on because I get to watch, the episodes, see you guys on social media and all that stuff. So it is kind of that cool connection piece. It's that thread that kind of binds relationships together. And so when you talk a lot about that, I hear storytelling is kind of big to you. Mm-hmm. Now, is that, since I know you a little bit, is that part of your culture as well, that big storytelling aspect of it?
Yeah. So this is the great part about this interview is that you and I have some history, and so you can kind of explain a little bit why a little bit deeper in understanding from our previous conversations. Like, I am Native American on my mother's side. I'm Hopi, and the Hopi tribe is a small tribe that is surrounded by the Navajo Nation, and that tribe actually expands 4 states, not only Arizona, but you can see it expands around the 4 corners of Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah. I grew up there during my high school years, and just kind of like it was a big different change in lifestyle from what I was before, and I was living on the East Coast, but it really did leave a mark on my life. And my grandfather is probably one of my biggest influences in my life and biggest just everything. He was an elder of the tribe, and he held a lot of stories, and that was one of the biggest things that I felt that it was important, some of the things that he had to say. And for me, one of the biggest effects or some of his sayings and some of the things that he believed in. And so from there, I guess you could say, like, he just left a just remarkable mark on my life. And so from there, I kind of believe that he taught me that every person deserves a chance at the table. Every person deserves at least one opportunity to tell that story that they've held inside for so long.
Right.
And yeah, that was like kind of like his kind of what he believed in, and taking that and kind of expanding it. You know, I grew up kind of one of those kids that loved talking and had family that were very expressive, being Puerto Rican on the other side of the culture side. So you're taking a look at this, and I always tell people it's like a yin and yang in culture. So you have like this very quiet, very kind of introverted lifestyle from this native, and then you have this very extroverted, energetic craziness that is the Puerto Rican side. And I just, again, it's a blending of the two, and you mix what you got in your life at the time. I imagined that because of all of the people that were coming through my life with the business, it just all kind of mixed into this really wonderful opportunity that was the podcast. And now, years later, my grandfather's no longer with us, but I like to think that he is forever more memorialized in this podcast. That is, I think that's, hopefully he's looking up and he's like, yeah, like that's what I wanted. I want you to do something like this, and to keep the dream alive of, like, you know, everyone deserves a chance. And so I think that's what I'm doing here. And I think that a lot of, you know, like yourself, your brother, and other business owners and entrepreneurs really, really enjoy this, like, I think, person who cares, person who is there for them, person who is genuinely interested and wants to have these conversations. You know, that's really great for me. And if it, at the end of the day, if people can just say, hey, look, I really met someone who was really nice enough to ask me about my business.
Right.
That's all I really want.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's that, like you were saying, that thing that you picked up from your grandfather. Everybody deserves a seat at the table. Everybody deserves an opportunity to express themselves, right, in some form or fashion. And it is an art form that we're missing, you know, in our society, in our culture. A couple weeks ago, I was holding the door open for somebody at a gas station, and he walked through, and I was like, "Hey, have a great day, man." And I always try to say that. Just one, it helps me kind of stay positive, and two, there's a bunch of crap going on in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the guy turned around, "What'd you say to me?" And I was like, "I just said have a great day." And he looked at me and he was like, "That's the nicest thing anybody said to me all day today." And so it's funny, we live in this world where there's so much chaos, there's so many things moving, and if you're an entrepreneur and you're in a business, man, it sometimes feels like the weight is always on you. And I think that's what your podcast does for a lot of entrepreneurs. It gives them that ability to sit down and express positivity about their endeavors and all of that stuff. And so how do you feel that's helped you? You talk to all these business owners and people who've created things. How has that helped you in your passions and designing kind of what you're going to be doing?
Oh, wow. There's so much that goes into it. I mean, again, it's like you look, and I mean, you've been through the podcasting like lifestyle, and just kind of like how it goes down is, I think one part of it is you learn from the individual. Like you learn from just the moment. Like you learn from the individual in the sense that you do the research and you're doing all of the kind of background information and like wanting to, set up certain kind of questions and things like that. So you're kind of gaining kind of like this understanding of who or what this business is. And there's that first kind of like layer of the onion. You dive a little bit deeper. You learn from the moment. You're learning from this conversation. You're learning from, what's your conversation before and after recording. And so, you take that. That's a little something that I've always kind of said that's really the big portion of what I learned is in that moment of like the podcast. But afterwards is really interesting. A lot of people, I like to say, is they think that I don't, like, they just edit and let it go. No, I actually kind of like, I digest the conversation, and then I actually even go further. I keep tabs of like some of the guests that come through, and just kind of like keep my eye on it, because one of the cool things is, for our podcast, we don't deliver right away. It's like you don't just record and then it comes out right away. We actually have like this little secret that is called a list, a running list of cues. Right. And so the great thing about it is, like, I'll watch and then something will either happen or something will come up, and between the time that they record and the time that they have their episode come out, I have this cool intro to tell, like, hey, look, this person's doing this, or like something's happened. And the one thing that I always say is, like, just keep, if you do something like this where you're meeting individuals, just be that person that you were from the beginning, which is someone who's interested in, passionate about these individuals, like all these different stories. And just, if you read the book, read more, read the ending of the book, read the foreword of the book, read the prequel of the book, and you get all of it. You get the full juice of it. And so for me, I have to say, like, honestly, every person who's come through our life or through our doors has left something with me, whether that's cool, like a piece of information that like is just to their business, or it's a conversation that's like, wow, they've been through a lot and like they have such a beautiful, unique mindset about what they've been through. Or even if it's just like, oh my God, like they told me the best joke. They told me the best place to eat. They told me so many cool little places, I always learn something. And that's the great thing about that podcast. And I will never, ever like stop doing it. I've said this to you. It's like, they're going to have to take the microphone away from me. It's literally because it's like, there's nothing better than having this like kind of conversations every day of like, you are someone who's doing something. Tell me more. Right. And so I think for me, it's just, again, it's left such a big mark, not only on myself, but like my wife. Again, we've had this conversation, like, she is my producer. She's my like wife. She's my producer. She's my everything. But on top of that, when it bleeds into her life, like in the sense that like people are literally, she's working, and she was working in her normal job, and they're like, oh hey, it's you, it's you, like, and then they're like literally they'll be like she'll be in the middle of like doing emails, and like these people are coming up to her and like, hi, it's Brittany, hey, how you doing? I'm good. And then like they bring in other people who probably don't know her, and they're just like, hey, this is the girl that like did the podcast. And so it's literally cool, bringing her joy in other ways. And again, it's like, it's such a like ripple effect that I don't think it'll ever.
That's awesome.
It's like it will never stop, because the joy is just always constant when you're doing it.
That's super cool.
I love that.
So obviously, again, lots of change since the first time we sat together.
Yes.
You have a son.
Yes.
How old's your son?
My son will be 2 in January.
That is awesome.
Yeah, he's about 22 months. I'm not good at at the month, but one of those things of like, again, he's just one of those kids that loves what he what's in front of him. He's so curious, and he's so like at that age of like, I'm gonna try and look.
Don't get fooled. 2 years old was amazing. So my son's gonna be 3 in 2 weeks. 2 years old was amazing. The last part of 2 heading into 3, it's a setup.
It's a setup. Yeah.
just be prepared.
No, I mean, again, it's like I've heard horror stories of terrible twos, and I have full blown that he's right in the thick of it. Like I have no qualms of like it gonna be some kind of challenge later down the road. But again, I have like you have so much joy of like they could poop and poop and poop and poop. And then like that last time that they just don't poop and they save you from like cleaning up, it's like, I praise you, little one. You are so fantastic. Thank you for the most wonderful day in the world.
Yep.
So it's like, again, it's like one of those things. I love being a dad, and that's for me the best thing in my life. Like that's awesome. I find so much joy in that moment.
So as a dad, what is something that you really? What's the best part of being a dad for you? I know that is a massive question. But...
Yeah. Well, so again, like I made the decision. So for me and my wife, we were not. I was surprised, but it's like she told me I had this joy, and I had to make a decision. You start to look at the bigger picture of like, what are we gonna do? Like,
right.
Are you gonna stay at home? Or am I gonna stay at home? And I was in this wonderful position of life of like, I could stay at home and make successful decisions from home and be the stay-at-home parent. I chose that life, and I really have stuck to my guns there.
That's
in the
awesome.
sense that like a lot of my priorities around his schedule, around what we do is for him. But the thing is, I find joy in that. I find the time that I spend with him, I would not change in the world. He teaches me so much, and I think I'm learning to be more patient. I'm learning to be more understanding, and I'm learning so much. So to me, taking it in and just, again, diving feet first and allowing that to kind of overtake my life and just really let that be the standard. And then when he gets older, I know he's going to transition. Right. I have a very limited time with him where he's going to want to be with dad and want to think of me being the funniest guy in the world. Right. So why not set up and do all the things that you know are limited in that time, and just dive head first in there. And so awesome. For me, like taking it, running the ball with it, letting it, be messy and be all of that. That's for me. That's awesome. I love doing that. And now you're saying like, what's changed, but again, it's like he's going to be changing all the time. So we're doing certain things to like, curb that change, or like not curb, but it's like evolve with him. Right. Is one of the things that we like to say, is just, making sure that, he's set with happiness and joy, and, he has a good head on his shoulders, and, again, setting up for success. Yeah. It's funny because it's so chaotic in that, when they're newborns, it's like easy. Yeah. Right. Other than just you being tired all the time. Yeah. I mean, other than that, I haven't slept in 3 years. But yeah, it's like you said, it's like there's certain things that like their needs that are right. met, in the sense that you have probably three things that you're looking for: poop, hunger, or cuddles. Like, those are the probably top 3 priorities of what their needs are. But now as you like expand, you're starting to like, oh, they want TV time. They want something else. They want, toy. They want, go outside, whatever that may be. But it's like they are expanding and evolving. Yeah, I like that, evolving with them, because that's one of the things that if you become rigid and you're not fluid in the moment, it can get frustrating, right? Yeah. And that's one of the things that my wife and I have always tried to do with our son, is be fluid, be able to evolve with him, his changing needs and where he's going and all that stuff. And so it's awesome to hear somebody else who is going through that, because sometimes you're just like, oh man, just one little thing. Like we joke all the time, he's stubborn when it comes to sleep. Oh, he's a bad sleeper, and I could be as frustrated as possible with that. Yeah. But there's just something that at 4:00 in the morning, when he's staring at me in the face
asking to put on his Spider-Man suit. There's no way you can be mad at that.
No way, man.
Like, no way you can be frustrated with that.
Your eyes just open. You're like, okay, buddy, I'm going. We're going. He's so like, we've had so many comments about his like routine that he does, and it's kind of weird, but it's like he's really good at the bedtime stuff. That's where he's really good. But it's like we've set him up with this routine where he's like, you go from dinner to bath to like you know, in your jammies, and then it's kind of like building that routine with him. But it's like, we've showed grandparents, we've shown like my brother who has a little one as well, and they're just like, he's so like on it. And it's like, well, it's kind of like helpful too, because we want him to go to bed for those 8 hours. But that was just like one of the comments that we got from everyone. It's like, he's so good at bedtime, and he's so good at like going to sleep. But again, I don't know where he gets it from, because I'm not a great sleeper at nighttime, and neither is Mom. So it's just like kind of like, okay, you're a great sleeper. Cool, man. That's cool with me. I'm glad that is going to save me a lot of headaches.
Oh, be thankful for the sleep part.
I'm so thankful every time.
Like Oliver, he's crazy, and he does so many awesome things and all that. And I'm just like, oh, I would trade so many of those for like 9 hours.
9 straight solid hours. Yeah.
So that's awesome. So obviously, with evolving and all of that in business, in fatherhood, what are some of the things that you're looking forward to and excited about? I know you do some education on podcasting. Yeah. What are some of the things that you're excited about kind of to come for you, for Britt, for Finding Arizona podcast? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I can just say this right now. I mean, the one thing that we've always been, kind of very, like, it's to our heart, is just giving what we've learned back to the individuals who want to learn about it. And so what we've tried to really make a stand for this year and for the upcoming couple of months and into 2023 is just being more adverse to education programs and some opportunities for events in live, in person, nice. Things, and making ourselves more well known out there, because we have been doing it for the last 7 years. And I just think we're at a point where it's like, let's keep sharing the stories. Let's keep, allowing ourselves to be diverse, be out there, be fluid. And so allowing ourselves to not only, educate those who want to be educated upon it at certain events where you're doing podcasting 101. And one of the other things is being on shows like this, being on programs like this is just one of the things that we've wanted to do, is just more podcasts where we can share what we're about and just letting everyone know that we're here for them. We're here to allow you guys to tell your stories. And so from me to you, like, open door policy, honestly. Like, if you want to, share your stories and what you're about, just come on in, because we want to hear it.
That's awesome, man. That's one of the reasons, like, I've been thankful for you guys giving us a platform in the past.
Yeah.
It was funny because I was doing something, I just, after we had talked about coming on to the episode of this, I found the War Cry Warrior t-shirt.
Oh, cool.
A couple of them that I'd gotten from you. And I was like, oh, man, this is cool. I thought I'd lost this one. And so that was really cool. But super excited to have you on, man. Thank you so much. Hopefully get you and Britt back in next time.
Well, hey, in all honesty, look, man, I really appreciate what you've been through and what you and your brother have, like, you coming on the show early on. You gave me a chance, and I want to return the favor all the same, because you've got something special here, and I know that everyone who comes in through this program will be changed, because, like, I feel like I'm here doing something really important, which is sharing my story. So allowing me from, all the next couple of guests and all the previous guests, thank you for allowing us to do this with you, and you have something very special here. I
appreciate it, man. And thank you so much again for your time, for hanging out with us today. Where can everybody find you and Finding Arizona podcast?
I love doing this part. This is kind of like my bread and butter. Ladies and gentlemen, you can hear every episode of the Finding Arizona podcast at our website, findingarizonapodcast.com. We make it easy for you guys to connect with us. That's Finding Arizona Podcast under Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Last but not least, if you want to become a super fan, there's a place for you to go do so, patreon.com/Finding Arizona Podcast. And I always say at end of every episode, I say on my podcast, kisses, hugs, and belly rubs. That's the outro for me. I don't know what you guys do here.
We're not that sophisticated.
Hey, it's okay.
Hey.
It's okay. We'll end with a goodbye.
Right? The new guy is interviewing the seasoned vet here.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's intimidating.
No, you're doing great, man. I really do appreciate you letting me come in and just share a little bit of my story. But again, this is above and beyond what I could have thought in my own head of like the studio, what a podcast like this could be like. I mean, again, you have come like so full circle and then some, like you, since the first time I've met you, and like again, I'm very honored.
Hey man, that first time hanging out on the kitchen table was one of the greatest times, right?
Best things happen at the kitchen table, right?
Exactly. Awesome. Well, I think we're gonna leave it at that, producer Steve. So. Yes. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us today. Have a great day.
Bye.